Hey guys, it's Sam here. So today I will be going over the things I wish I knew before high school, but instead had to learn on my own these past 4 years. To those of you that will be starting high school soon, or even those that are still currently in, I want to share them with you now in hopes that they'll help you find your way easier. Everything will be in order. So when I say in order, I mean like things I learned starting from my freshman year to senior year. 1, you don't go to school for grades, for it is not about getting good grades, but actually learning. Besides, grades don't define you. I remember in the beginning of my freshman year, this was for my critical thinking class. I mean, just as most teachers would have their students do in the beginning of their school year, she had us do a project just describing ourselves, stuff like that. And so after the whole class did their presentation, I remember my critical thinking teacher had said that she was not going to grade us, as this was our first project for her class. And most importantly, now this is the part I'm never gonna forget. You do not go to school for grades. Going to school is about actually learning. I mean, that's what she said. And it took me a minute to process all that through my head, think about, what she meant and all that stuff. After thinking about all that, it makes sense to me now. Think about it. Some people could be passing their class with an A or B, and yet they still don't learn anything from their class. I don't know, maybe they just pass because they do extra credit assignments, or they do, or they just cheat. I never did that, I wanted to pass my class in a fair way, or the right way. Well, you guys get what I'm trying to say. So yeah, there are some people out there that will do that, and they don't get caught. So that's why I'm just think about that, and then there are some that are learning, but yet they're failing the class. And I mean, reason being most of the time is because they don't keep up with the deadlines of their assignments. So yeah, that's why I say grades are not everything. I remember I was all worried about surviving high school, especially academic wise, until that day when my critical thinking teacher was going over that to the class. That's when I was so ever since then, that's when I've just had that mindset, it's not about getting good grades, but actually learning. Also, another thing to remember is that you do not need good grades to go to heaven. 2, health should always come first. I remember I was always so stressed out. I was always worrying about passing these tests I had to take, especially when it was so constant. I don't even remember going through 1 week without having to take a test for one of my freaking 14 classes I had. And the reason being, so you may be wondering what led to this? So it all started when I had to take this history test. And even though I literally studied a whole week for it, I still failed it. That's why I was ugh. So ever since then, I was just really hard on myself about it. And yeah, all that stuff. And yeah, I guess you can say I was traumatized with that. Yeah, I would use more of my time to study, more of my time than I've ever used. I would even stay up because I'd be okay, I feel I'm not going to pass this even though I've studied long enough. No, I should just do this because again, I was practically just traumatized from the history test, right? That's why I was I know, it was a whole thing. So yeah, I was lacking sleep with all that. Afterwards, I realized that health should always come first. Lacking sleep for studying, even though I had already been studying long enough, during the day, it's that's just, that is just so unhealthy, man. I had to remind myself, okay, there's a reason why I study a week in advance before the test. I start at least a week prior, and I just keep on studying day by day, until the day before the test. So yeah. 3, sometimes in life things don't go according to plan, and that's okay. Besides, God's plans are better than ours. I remember I used to be hard on myself when I wouldn't get all of the tasks on my to-do list done in one day. Until, not sure if you guys saw this one video. It's like one of my oldest ones, where I was trying Japanese candies and snacks with my friends. So yeah, and I don't know if you guys have seen one of my recent videos. One of them is prom, my senior prom, and that's when I went with my friend Jalen, who was also in the Japanese snack video. So yeah, like I remember that day his mom was telling me, like, after we did our whole video and everything, she was saying that she was going to make a Japanese dessert, but because, you know, she had so many other things to do, so she didn't have the time to do that, you know. And then I remember she was like, I don't know why, like she just kept like going on, and like at some point just started saying like, well, you know, like sometimes in life things don't go according to plan. And when she said that, I don't know why, like it just something I thought of just taking to heart. Like I felt like it was something like for me to think about for myself. Like, yeah, like I mean, it's a good thing, because yeah, like now it's like, I mean, okay, things don't go according to plan, and then of course, you know, later I did get into the book of Proverbs, and that's when I had read that verse, you know, like God's plans are better than ours, you know. So yeah, I will always remember not only what Jalen's mom had told me, but also the word of God. Now, moving on to the things I learned from my sophomore year. Cast all your anxieties on the Lord. Although I wasn't in 1 Peter yet, I wish I knew the verse sooner, which is 1 Peter 5:7. Yeah, like just with the way how anxious I constantly was, like especially during my freshman year, like, yeah, or to be more specific, I'm gonna play this clip. So when I was a freshman, I was not doing well mental health wise, as I was always quite anxious. Like, especially in school, I would be anxious when the days of my presentations or tests would come. I was constantly under stress because of school and everything. So yeah, even my physical health wasn't good either. After finishing my freshman year, so obviously this was during the summer, before I started my sophomore year. So this one day I went to church with my family, and I had really learned something that day. This is something I'm never gonna forget, and I wish that I had read this verse like before my freshman year. Like, cast your burdens on the Lord. 1 Peter 5:7. It's better to do something than nothing at all. I did online homeschooling my sophomore year, and with that, I'm gonna be really honest. Out of all the 4 years I was in high school, that is when I was just less productive. Not only that, but I was struggling with geometry, and it didn't help that I wasn't in an actual school, you know, so yeah, every week, like the last course I would focus on was my geometry. It's like literally from Monday through Thursday, you know, I'd just be working on all of my other assignments from my other 5 courses I had. And then, yeah, so yeah, by Thursday, I had everything else done, right? All of my assignments for the week except geometry. I remember I was kind of hard on myself about it, but then I think it was when I saw one of Faye Film's videos. Not sure if you know her YouTube channel, but she's one that makes like effective study tips, how to be better productive, and you know, stuff like that. I've watched her videos since my freshman year, and I still do today every now and then. And yeah, I gotta say her content has helped. Anyway, so yeah, I'm pretty sure it was her who said in one of her videos where she was discussing like how to stay productive, and she was all, if you're able to at least get like most of the tasks done, that's okay, you know, because I mean, it's better to do something than nothing at all. Even now, when I make a to-do list for the day at home, like honestly, 99% of the time, I may not finish all of them, but at least most of them. Like, yeah, so yeah, and I always just just remind myself, like, it's better to do something than nothing at all. It's like, okay, just take it easy on yourself. Instead of worrying, just pray. Stressing is the worst thing to do. I know those of you who are Christian are probably like, oh, that sounds like what Philippians 4:6 basically says. You were right. However, I was not in Philippians yet at the time. I would watch Live with Prayer, as his content would constantly pop up on my For You page on Facebook and YouTube. And like I noticed how like most of his prayer videos were like about like laying your burdens on the Lord and stuff like that. I'm glad I saw his content because, well, honestly, that was my biggest struggle. So yeah, I remember in one of his prayer shorts, he mentioned Philippians 4:6. And yeah, so this is something I remind myself, like even to this day, when I have so much on my plate, I'll be like, okay, like, don't even worry about it, pray about it. There is nothing wrong with needing help. It's okay to not be 100% independent, for you can't do anything without the Lord's help. There is a devotional book I read, which has a daily lesson in each page. One day I read about not believing that you are self-sufficient. There is this one video where I was discussing about that. You can go check that out if you want. But yeah, after reading that page, I was like, what the heck am I being all hard on myself for? Like, honestly, my worry was being self-sufficient as an adult until the day I read all that. Then, of course, I also felt guilty for being basically prideful for things I had accomplished prior to reading that page. If you watch the video I just mentioned, you will understand why. As you can tell from everything I just discussed, my sophomore year is when I really started looking for God. Not sure if you've seen this one video where I just explained my relationship journey with God. But yeah, that's practically what I mentioned in there. I'm not gonna go more into that since, well, the purpose of this video is to go over the things that I wish I knew before high school. So yeah, if you want to know more, you can go ahead and check out that video. Anyways, moving on to the things I learned from my junior year. You can only find yourself through Christ, not on your own. This was my issue in middle school and through half of high school. I thought that staying true to myself is how I would find my true self. Wrongo! As Christians, we should be staying true to the Word of God. What does it mean to find yourself through Christ, you may ask? So, first off, you would accept Jesus as your Savior, meaning you live for Him. Anything you do is for Him. Second, believing that what God says about you is true while resisting what anyone else says or thinks of you, including yourself. A good Christian song that can relate to this is You Say from Lauren Daigle. I shouldn't feel the need to force anything. Anything that is forced is not worth fighting for. If it's meant to be, great. If it's not, well, it's just not meant to be. For example, like friendships can be one. If your so-called friends, like, want to stop being your friends, for whatever reason, like even for like something stupid, it's their loss, they're obviously not meant to be your friends, or even those who expect you to do everything, like planning, like planning to hang out and, stuff like that, or you're always the one reaching out to them, and stuff like that. Like, no, that's not how it should be. So therefore, like, if your friend is going to be like that, expecting you to do everything and stuff, like, they're just not meant to be, man. So just freaking don't try to force the friendship. Like, no, you shouldn't be feeling the need to do this. Like, and this doesn't just go for friendships. This goes for just anything in life. Like, things should be coming naturally, not out of force. Let God be the one to bring things to you. Finally, onto my senior year. So it was really just one thing I learned from this last school year, which I mean is still something. And this one is something I just learned a few months ago. So this is butterfly analogy. Butterflies cannot see the color of their wings, though us as humans can see how beautiful they are. Likewise, we may not see the best in ourselves, though others can see how special and amazing you are. As some of you may know, I went to a military school my junior and senior year. I remember I did say in my last promotion video, as I mentioned in both my essay and speech, my purpose is that I don't want anyone to repeat the same mistakes I made. With that, I'm just going to read specifically my speech, since what I wrote in my essay is honestly a little more personal. So with that, I mean, if anyone, the only person who's ever going to read my essay would be my CAP instructor, and that's it. However, I guess I'm gonna have to mention what I mentioned in the essay. I mean, I wrote what I wrote because when I had heard about the butterfly analogy, that made me reflect on the things I wrote in the essay. So that's why I thought it would be necessary to mention the analogy. I'm gonna word some things differently though, that way it's not so confusing for you guys. So starting from junior year, I was the guidon bearer for my flight, and I was disappointed because I just thought I wasn't good enough for it. And then my senior year came. It was the beginning of the school year when I was chosen to be a flight sergeant for a different flight, and I was even more disappointed because I thought I don't even do good as a guidon bearer. So what makes them think that I am a good fit for a flight sergeant? You guys may be wondering who is them. I believe it's either the senior members or cadet commander who chooses the flight staff and all that stuff. But either way, I mean, whoever chose me, I was just like, what the heck makes them think that I would be a good fit for a flight sergeant? Later that day though, after being chosen for the flight sergeant, the cadet commander had came up to me to just let me know that I was no longer a flight sergeant due to senior privileges. And yeah, so with that, a younger cadet took that position. With that, I felt relieved. However, looking back now, I just feel fatuous about it. A leadership trait I had to discover on my own was confidence, especially in myself. Though this was my problem, I was lacking that. I wish I knew this sooner. When you're chosen for a leadership position, keep in mind that is quite a sign you are trustworthy and dependable, instead of focusing on your weaknesses and thinking oh, why would you choose me of all people, and stuff like that. I mean, why else do you think you were chosen for that position? Think about that. Ask yourself that question. As I mentioned in that video, that's why I went over that to my CAP class. And yeah, so hopefully they took everything that I said to heart, and even you guys that are currently watching this video, as I always say, I do not want anybody else to end up like how I was. I always remind myself, just think about the butterflies. All right, that is all for today. Thank you for listening, and hopefully you guys follow my advice, and God bless you. May he be with you, and yeah, see you guys in the next video.